Hello, everyone. Tonight we are stepping quietly into a world where the shadows stretch long and even the mightiest predator second guesses its next move. You crouch low in the grass, the sun sliding behind ancient hills, painting the sky in smears of red and orange that feel more like warnings than beauty. The air cools fast, carrying the smells of dry earth, distant water, and the unmistakable tang of fear, not yours, but something bigger. A saber-toothed cat pads softly nearby, its muscles tense, its massive fangs glinting like daggers in the dying light, but its ears flick nervously. Its eyes dart to the trees. It pauses, and then you hear it too, the slow, deliberate call of an owl. Soft at first, then louder, a sound that seems to make the cat smaller somehow. And you realize this beast with teeth longer than your fingers is afraid of what's to come. You probably won't survive this night, but hey, at least the view is nice. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it where you are? Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You shuffle forward, careful not to snap a twig. The saber-toothed cat, let's call it Old Crooked Fang, because one of its canines is chipped stalks the edge of a clearing. The grass here is tall, the kind that scratches your arms if you're not careful. The cat's body is sleek under its spotted coat, a design that helps it blend into the golds and browns of the savanna. But the camouflage isn't what keeps it alive at dusk. No. At this hour, all the saber-toothed cats rely on their ears, listening for the first haunting hoot that signals the start of owl time. Historians still debate whether saber-toothed cats actually changed their hunting schedules to avoid owls, but it's clear from fossilized claw marks and odd tooth wear that these cats struggled most at twilight. Picture it. You're a predator built for ambush, for the quick crush of vertebrae. But suddenly, the world goes blurry, the light plays tricks, and above an owl circles its feathers, whispering like the ghosts of failed hunts. You duck as something rushes past a bat, harmless enough, though your heart jumps all the same. Fun fact, bats existed alongside saber-toothed cats, and some species back then were as big as crows. Imagine trying to sleep with those flapping around. Speaking of sleep, you won't be getting any if Old Crooked Fang has its way. The cat pauses, crouching, low tail flicking like a metronome. But it isn't prey, it's watching. Its gaze keeps flicking up to a gnarled tree where the owl waits. The owl, you realize, isn't even trying to hide. It's huge, probably one of those extinct giant owls researchers dream about finding intact. Its eyes gleam gold, fixed on the cat, unblinking. And then it hoots again, a sound that rolls through the clearing like a challenge. You could swear Old Crooked Fang flinches. The cat backs up a step, ears low. The tension is so thick, you feel like holding your breath will break it. Here's an odd tidbit to chew on: the word owl in several ancient languages translates roughly to the watcher or the harbinger. Coincidence maybe. Or maybe humans noticed what you're seeing. Now a predator stopped in its tracks by nothing but feathers and sound. The cat circles, trying to shake the feeling that it's the one being hunted. It snarls softly as if reminding itself of its place in the food chain. You'd think fangs like that would give it confidence, but dusk changes everything. The shadows grow longer, the colors fade from the world, and in that gray half-light, the owl seems bigger. Its wings spread slightly, just enough to suggest that it could strike if it wanted. Historians still debate whether giant owls actually preyed on young saber-toothed cats, but the fossil record hints at conflicts between these night creatures. And then, as if on cue, the wind shifts. The grass rustles. You hear the subtle click of claws on stone, another saber-tooth, maybe, or a rival predator. But Old Crooked Fang doesn't move toward the sound. Instead, it hunches lower eyes, darting to the owl again as if seeking permission, or maybe forgiveness. It's a moment of pure instinct of ancient programming written deep in bone and blood. Do not cross the owl at dusk. Somewhere in the distance, a hyena laughs a high, eerie cackle that makes your skin prickle. Did you know hyenas once shared these plains scavenging the remains of failed hunts? They knew to wait for twilight's confusion to claim their prize. You wonder if the owl's hoot signaled supper time for them too. As the last sliver of sun slips below the horizon, you see old crooked fang make its decision. It turns away from the clearing, slinking back into the grass. The owl watches, head swiveling in that uncanny, too smooth way that birds of prey do. And just before the cat vanishes into the dark, it casts one last glance upward, a mix of defiance and dread. A silent promise tomorrow, perhaps, but not tonight. And you, well, you stay frozen a little longer, listening as the owl's hoots fade into the night's chorus of insects and unseen things. You tell yourself you'll move soon as the owl stops watching. The first owl cries pierce the silence like a blade through soft cloth, and you swear the temperature drops with the sound. You can't help it, you shiver. The kind of shiver that starts at the base of your neck and slides all the way down your spine. The sky has gone from gold to bruised purple, and now a darker ink spills across it. Dusk is no longer a time of pretty colors. It's become a veil, a curtain behind which dangers rearrange themselves. You crouch lower, hoping the grass will hide you with some. But the owls see everything. Old crooked fang has slunk to the edge of a ravine, and you can just make out his spotted shoulders moving like waves beneath his skin. He stops every few steps, head snapping up at every hoot. It's as if each call digs a little deeper into his nerves. The owls aren't just making noise. No, these hoots are precise, spaced perfectly apart, echoing off the cliffs like taunts. Historians still debate whether owls evolved specific call patterns to confuse large predators, but it sure sounds like a strategy tonight. And here's a fun curveball. Did you know some ancient owl species had feather patterns that reflected moonlight? That's right. So while old crooked fang is trying to melt into the shadows, the owls glow faintly in the dimness like floating skulls with wings. Kind of unfair, honestly. If cats could file formal complaints about nature's design, this would probably top the list. You hear the cries again, 1, 2, 3, and suddenly crooked fang flattens against the ground, ears pinned. He's not looking for prey anymore, he's waiting. You can almost feel his heart racing, each beat rattling the air between you. The owl cries have changed something in him. He's gone from hunter to haunted. A breeze stirs the dry grass, and the owl cries seem to ride it, as if the very wind carries their warnings. The nearest owl swoops from a low branch, its wings barely making a sound. And that's the most unsettling part, isn't it? This creature glides through the air like a whisper. A creature that doesn't seem to belong to the world of claws and fangs and tearing flesh, but to some older, stranger order. You half expect it to speak in a human voice to call your name. The way it moves, the way its hoot slices through the night, it owns this hour and everything in it. You glance at old crooked fang again, hoping for some sign of courage, but no. The mighty cat has settled into a low crouch, tail curled, tied head down, like a student caught cheating. Maybe you think I'm being unfair to him. But remember, this is a cat that can crush bone with a single bite. And yet here it cowers because a bird told it to. Historians still debate whether early humans learned from watching these encounters, whether seeing predators fear the owl gave rise to myths of owl wisdom and power. But the connection's easy to make when you're here watching the scene play out in real time. The owl hoots again, and the sound echoes off a rocky outcrop, warping slightly, so it feels like it comes from everywhere at once. You almost duck yourself, instinctively reacting as if the owl had spotted you too. You know what's funny? People today think of owls as symbols of calm, of wisdom, of cozy nights reading books. But back then, in this wild place, the owl was more like a warning siren. a living reminder that dusk belonged to no one except the shadows and their winged messengers. The owl cries out again, and this time, old crooked Fang lets out a low growl almost as if arguing with it. The sound is half-hearted, though. You've heard stronger protests from a house cat denied treats. The owl isn't impressed. It tilts its head that eerie too-human gesture as if considering its next move. And here's a weird fact to tuck away in some ancient human burial sites. Owl bones have been found alongside the remains of big cats. Coincidence, maybe. Or maybe there was a deeper connection between predator and predator watcher than we understand. Historians still debate whether these burials were meant as warnings, tributes, or just the result of natural encounters. Another owl joins the first, its hoot, harmonizing like a duet of doom. Together, they sound like an ancient melody meant to summon something from the dark. You try to tell yourself it's just birds, just noise, but the weight of the sound presses on your chest all the same. You look to the horizon, but the sun is gone now. The world belongs to the night, and in that night the owl's voice is king. Old crooked Fang edges backward, each step slow, deliberate, as if hoping not to attract further attention. But the owls follow silent now, wings spread like cloaks of night. And you stay frozen, heart pounding, ears straining to catch every rustle, every call. The owls have turned their gaze on you too, haven't they? Their eyes flash as they pass overhead. For a moment, you wonder if they see through to your bones, to your secrets. But then they're gone, swallowed by the dark, leaving behind only the memory of their cries and the uneasy quiet that follows. You shuffle along the ravine's edge, careful to stay downwind of old crooked Fang, who's now more shadow than cat, slinking toward a copse of ancient trees. The air here smells of dust and sap with a faint tang of decay. Maybe a long-dead kill hidden somewhere, maybe just the earth itself. The last owl cry has faded, but the tension hasn't. The cat moves like it expects an ambush at any moment. And honestly, so do you. The trees form a kind of twisted cathedral, their branches tangled high above, blocking what little moonlight filters down. This is where you see it, the hidden wound. Old crooked Fang pauses at the base of a gnarled trunk and lowers himself onto his haunches. His breath comes in quick bursts, and when he shifts, you spotted an old scar jagged across one flank. The fur there is patchy, the skin beneath puckered and pale against the golden coat. You can almost hear the story the scar tells of a night like this, one of talons, where no talons should have reached. Historians still debate whether giant owls truly attacked adult saber-toothed cats or only went after the young and weak. But what's undeniable is that some cats bore marks like this, wounds that matched no rival cat's claw, no hyena's bite. Wounds long healed but never forgotten. You take a cautious step closer, curiosity pulling stronger than common sense. The cat's ear flicks in your direction, but he doesn't rise. Not yet. His eyes scan the canopy, watching for the source of those cries. You get the sense that he's reliving it the night the owl came for him. And you feel it too, as if you were there, as if those talons had grazed your own skin. A breeze rattles the dry leaves, and you almost expect a shape to drop from the branches. Instead, the night offers only silence. But silence here is its own kind of menace. You ever notice how in scary movies the music cuts out right before the monster appears? Same deal. The quiet means the owl is near, watching, waiting. Odd fact, some species of prehistoric owls had double-layered eyelids, one clear for seeing while flying through thick foliage, the other opaque for sleeping. Basically, they came with built-in night vision goggles. Imagine going up against that when all you have is muscle and teeth. Old crooked Fang shifts again, and you see him wince. The scar tugs at his skin, a reminder that no matter how strong, how fast, how ferocious, he's not invincible. The memory of pain humbles even the fiercest predator. You can almost hear his thoughts, not again, not tonight. The trees creak under the weight of the night breeze, and in that sound you think you hear another voice, a low rhythmic hoot that seems to come from everywhere at once. It's as if the trees themselves are mocking him. You glance up, half expecting to see an owl spread its wings and blot out the stars, but there's nothing, just the wind. And yet the cat stays frozen eyes, wide, tail low, every muscle tight as a bowstring. Historians still debate whether early saber-toothed cats passed on this fear through generations, whether cubs learned it at their mother's side, or whether the fear of owls is written deeper in the marrow of their bones. You watch Old Crooked Fang, and it feels like both. Learned and inherited, a fear older than memory. The cat makes a sound low in his throat, a kind of growl that never quite finds its teeth. A warning, maybe, but to whom? The owl? The knight himself? You're not sure. But it makes you hold your breath, afraid that even that small noise will draw down doom. You think about how fragile this balance is: predator and prey, fear and hunger, night and day. And somewhere in that tangled mess, the owl perches unseen, holding the strings. You take another step, and the ground shifts beneath your foot, a loose stone tumbling down into the ravine. The sound is loud in the stillness, loud enough that Old Crooked Fang snaps his head around, ears flat, eyes blazing. For a heartbeat, he looks like he might spring on you on the trees on the night itself. But then the fear returns, dulling the edge of his fury. He lowers his head, breath hissing between his teeth, and melts deeper into the undergrowth. Here's a strange little detail for you: in some ancient cave paintings, big cats are drawn smaller than birds of prey. Maybe artistic license. Maybe a statement. Maybe those early humans knew what you're learning tonight: the owl owns the dusk. Old Crooked Fang slinks off, leaving you alone with the trees and their creaking song. You can't help but look up one more time, searching for the owl that wounded him, the owl that still haunts him. But the branches remain empty, or maybe they don't. Maybe the owl's been there all along and you're just too human to see it. You edge forward, keeping low, feeling the ground cool beneath your palms. The trees thin, giving way to a stony outcrop where the last glow of twilight spills across the landscape. And that's when you see it. The owl's giant shadow. It stretches across the ground like some ancient monster, reborn, wings, wide claws outstretched, a silhouette bigger than any owl has the right to be. You blink, half convinced your eyes are playing tricks. But no, the shadow is real, cast by the owl gliding low against the painted sky, its massive form exaggerated by the angle of the dying light. Old Crooked Fang freezes mid-step, head tilted, eyes locked on that monstrous shape. You swear the cat's pupils go wide, drinking in the sight like a cub seeing fire for the first time. The owl circles once, twice each pass, drawing that terrifying silhouette over the rocks and scrub. It's as if the bird knows exactly what effect it's having, as if it's playing some cruel game of predator theater. Historians still debate whether owls intentionally exploited the dusk's low sun to amplify their shadows, but honestly, watching this, it's hard not to believe they did. The timing's too perfect, the angle too precise. Nature doesn't always need intent to create drama, but sometimes it sure feels like it has a flair for it. Here's an odd fact for your collection: some prehistoric owls had wing feathers with specialized fringes that let them fly almost silently. So not only did they look like nightmares gliding over the ground, they arrived without warning, like ghost ships in the sky. No wonder Old Crooked Fang looks like he's seen a spirit. The cat hunches lower tail, twitching in nervous little jerks. He glances at the shadow more than at the bird itself, as if the shape has become the greater threat. You can almost hear his thoughts: if the shadow is that big, the creature must be bigger still. Fear, after all, doesn't always wait for confirmation. The owl lets out a slow, rolling hoot that seems to vibrate through your ribs. The sound pairs with the shadow in a way that makes your stomach knot. It's like the night itself is warning you: go no further, see no more. But you're hooked now, caught between terror and awe. Same as Old Crooked Fang. The owl banks hard, turning toward a line of boulders. Its shadow dances across them, enormous and fluid, like some ancient cave painting brought to life. You notice that when the shadow passes over the cat, he flinches as if touched. It's as if the darkness itself has weight pressing down, a reminder of every close call, every near miss. Historians still debate whether these dramatic shadow displays contributed to the owl's rise in myth, seen as creatures that could bend light and dark, command both the seen and unseen. Watching tonight's performance, you can't blame those ancient storytellers. The owl dips lower, and for a moment its real form matches the size of its shadow perfectly on the stony ground. A trick of perspective, sure but effective. Old Crooked Fang backs up a step, then another. His confidence eroded by a bird that hasn't even touched him. He lets out a soft hiss, more frustration than threat. You wonder if he knows how small he seems right now, dwarfed by something as fleeting as a shadow. Here's something strange to think about. Fossil evidence suggests some giant owls once shared territories with saber-toothed cats for thousands of years. Imagine living side by side with your nightmare every single night. No escape, no end to the dread, just an endless game of who blinks first. The owl rises on a gust of wind, its shadow shrinking as it gains altitude, but the damage is done. Old Crooked Fang is beaten without a fight. He slinks off toward the scrub shoulders, hunched ears flat. The mighty predator undone by a play of light. You stay behind, watching the owl fade into the dark, its cries growing faint as it disappears into the endless night. The shadow's gone now, swallowed by the dark, but you'll remember it, the way it moved, the way it made the world smaller, scarier. And somewhere out there, so will Old Crooked Fang. You follow the fading tracks of Old Crooked Fang, though truth be told, they're easy to lose in the gathering dark. The prints are shallow, cautious like a cat trying to leave no trail at all. But you know where he's headed, deeper into the scrub toward a stand of ancient pines. The air changes as you go, cooler, with a sharp, resinous bite that tickles your nose. Above, the sky has darkened to near black, and the first stars tremble into view. But before their light can comfort you, you hear it, the low, haunting hoot that starts it all over again. And this time, it's not just a sound, it's a story. The myths passed through early human camps, whispered from one flickering fire to the next. You settle behind a boulder, listening as the pines sway and creak like old bones, and you picture those ancient faces, lined and weary, warning their kin, beware the owl at dusk. It brings the spirit of doom. Historians still debate whether those myths came from watching scenes like this, or whether the owl simply fit too perfectly into the human imagination. After all, what creature better embodies the in-between, the shadow's edge, the boundary between life and death, than a silent hunter with eyes like gold coins and a voice like the grave? Here's a fun, if slightly morbid, oddity for you. In some prehistoric burial sites, owl skulls have been found arranged around the dead like sentinels. No one's sure if they were meant as guardians or warnings. But either way, it's clear our ancestors thought owls had one foot in this world and one in whatever comes after. You watch as Old Crooked Fang pauses at the tree line, head low, eyes scanning the dark canopy. You can almost hear his heart beating, slow, heavy, deliberate. The hoots come again, layered now, one deeper, one higher, like two voices calling back and forth across the void. The cat sinks lower still, practically melting into the shadows. The myths weren't just for humans, you think. They shaped the fears of all who shared these lands. The pines groan under the weight of the wan branches, rattling like bones strung together. And still, the owl calls continue relentless. You glance up, half expecting to see those wide wings spread against the stars, but the owl remains hidden, its power magnified by its absence. A predator you can't see is always the most terrifying one. Right? Nature's classic horror move. Old Crooked Fang lets out a breathy hiss as if trying to banish the dread. He's a creature of muscle, claw, and fang, built to end lives with a snap of his jaws. And yet here he crouches undone by myths made flesh by stories older than language. Historians still debate whether early humans saw the owl as a god, a messenger, or a curse. But the effect's the same. The owl hoots, the world stops. Even the insects seem quieter, the night holding its breath to listen. And you're caught up in it too. The hoots seem to circle you, to weave a net of sound that tightens with every passing second. Your heart races, your mouth dry. You remind yourself that it's just birds, just noise. But deep down you feel it, that primal fear that makes even a saber-toothed cat hesitate. You think back to those myths by the fire, the stories of owls guiding spirits to the afterlife, of owls crying out to warn of death's approach. Maybe the people telling those tales had watched a scene like this. Maybe they'd seen the strongest beast brought low by nothing more than feathers and sound, and they'd understood the owl's true power. Here's another strange tidbit: in some parts of the world today, the owl's call is still seen as an omen. In rural villages, people close their windows against the sound, whisper prayers, light candles. A fear that crosses ages, that refuses to die. The hoots rise in pitch, growing more insistent, and old Crooked Fang can take no more. He slips into the trees, vanishing like smoke. And you're left alone again, listening as the owl's calls fade into the night, leaving behind only the creak of pines and the soft hush of the wind through needles. You stay where you are, heart still pounding, half afraid that moving will break the spell and call the owl's gaze onto you. And when you do finally rise, it's slow, deliberate, as if you too have learned to fear the owl's myth made real. You keep your steps slow, silent as the night around you, following the faintest hint of movement through the underbrush. The air feels thicker here, heavy with sap and the musk of old bark. And then you see it, a flash of pale fur, a smaller shape darting after old Crooked Fang. A cub. Probably his, though in this dim light it could be any young saber-tooth drawn into the dark by instinct and hunger. The cub's steps are clumsy, eager, unaware of the dread its elder carries. And above them both, the owl watches. The bird's wings spread wide, and for a moment it glides so low you feel the breeze from its feathers brush your cheek. It's massive, far larger than any owl you've ever imagined. Historians still debate whether species like Ornithomegalonyx overlapped with saber-toothed cats, but standing here tonight it feels impossible that they didn't. The owl circles, once silent as a shadow, and then it dives. The attack is sudden, brutal. Nothing like the slow menace of hoots and shadows. The owl's talons strike with precision, slamming into the cub's back. The young cat lets out a high, panicked yowl, the kind that freezes your blood. You can hear the snap of small bones, feel the tremor in the ground as the cub writhes beneath the bird's grip. And old Crooked Fang. He charges forward, but too late. Always too late. The owl beats its wings, powerful, purposeful, dragging its prey a few feet before releasing it as if to prove a point rather than to feed. You crouch low, heart hammering in your chest. The cub stumbles trying to stand, but its back legs fail it, and it collapses, panting in terror and pain. The owl perches on a nearby branch, watching head-tilted eyes glowing with reflected starlight. The message is clear. This is my hour. This is my domain. Enter at your peril. Odd fact for you, some ancient owl species had talons as long as a man's fingers, capable of puncturing deep into flesh with a single strike. And here you are seeing just how effective those weapons could be. The cub, so full of potential, so sure of its strength, now lies broken at the owl's feet. Historians still debate whether it was attacks like this that instilled generations of saber-toothed cats with fear, or whether the fear came first and was simply reinforced by such brutal reminders. Either way, you see now why Dusk belongs to the owl. The cats, for all their power, are helpless against wings and silence and the lethal precision of talons. Old Crooked Fang stands over his cub, trembling with rage and helplessness. He lets out a roar that shakes the trees, a sound that echoes off the rocks and fades into the night like a dying storm. The owl does not flinch. It remains still, watching, as if measuring the cat's fury and finding it wanting. You feel the weight of that moment. The predator made prey the king of the land, humbled by a creature of the air. The cub breathes in shallow gasps, and old Crooked Fang does what he can, nudging it gently, trying to lift it with his nose. But the damage is done. The owl's lesson is carved into flesh and bone tonight. Here's something strange to think about. In some prehistoric rock carvings, owls are depicted not just as birds, but as spirits, part of the landscape itself. The artists drew their wings blending into trees, their eyes into the stars. Maybe they understood what you're seeing now, that the owl wasn't just a creature of the night, but the night itself given form. The owl hoots once soft and final, and then lifts into the air, disappearing into the dark without a sound. The cub's breath slows. Old Crooked Fang lowers himself beside it, wrapping his body around the small form as if to shield it from further harm. But no more harm comes. The night has had its sacrifice. You stay where you are, unable to move, caught in the grip of what you've witnessed. The owl's talons. The cub's cry. The cat's roar, all of it etched into the dark like a memory that won't fade. The wind shifts, carrying the scent of pine and sorrow, and you finally draw a breath, your chest tight, your mind racing. The owl rules Dusk. And now you understand why. The night deepens, and with it the silence grows heavy. You ease back from the heartache you've witnessed, giving old Crooked Fang and his cub space in the darkness. But the owls aren't done yet. Not tonight. The air hums with something you can't quite name, a tension that prickles your skin like static. You hear it first as a faint echo, a hollow repetition of sound that seems to come from the canyon beyond the trees. The owl's call, drawn out, warped, magnified, until it sounds like a chorus of voices calling from the stone itself. The canyon, a gash in the earth, yawns before you as you approach. Its walls are jagged, painted with centuries of wind and water, and they catch the owl's hoots, bouncing them back in waves. The echoes blend and layer, so what began as a single deliberate cry now fills the air like a chant. You can see why early humans, and maybe even the cats, might have believed these places were haunted. The sound seems to come from everywhere at once, disorienting and relentless. Historians still debate whether these natural amphitheaters influence where owl legends flourished, but it's hard to imagine they didn't. Standing here with the sound surrounding you, you can feel the power of it. No matter where you turn, the hoots follow, as if the canyon itself is alive, breathing with the voices of the night. And here's a weird little detail for you. Some species of ancient owls had calls that varied so much by region that experts today have trouble telling their fossils apart without analyzing the bones themselves. It's like each canyon, each forest had its own unique owl anthem. Tonight you hear the anthem of this place, and it's not a comforting song. Old Crooked Fang lingers at the canyon's edge, the cub hidden somewhere in the shadows behind him. The cat's ears swivel, trying to pin down the source of the sound, but the echoes confuse him, make him turn in circles, make him flinch at shadows. You can almost feel his frustration, his rising panic. The owl's call isn't just a sound, it's a weapon, turning the land itself into an ally. The wind shifts again, funneling through the canyon's depths, carrying dust and loose stones that rattle down the walls. You shiver, not from the cold, but from the sense that you're standing inside a giant's mouth, waiting for it to close. The owls hoot again, and this time the echoes twist and overlap, creating a harmony of dread that grips your chest and won't let go. Historians still debate whether predators like saber-toothed cats avoided places like this at dusk for the acoustics alone. The confusion of sound, the inability to locate their enemies, would have been a serious disadvantage. And you can see that disadvantage now in old Crooked Fang's restless pacing, his low growl swallowed by the canyon's voice. You glance up, searching for the source of the cries, but the sky offers no answers. The owls are ghosts tonight, heard not seen. Their calls rise and fall, like the breath of the canyon, ancient and endless. And you stand frozen, caught in the music of fear, wondering how a creature so small could command such vastness. Odd fact, in some ancient cultures, echoes themselves were believed to be the voices of spirits trapped between worlds. Standing here with owl song ricocheting around you, it's easy to see why. The sound feels otherworldly, untouchable, a reminder that Dusk belongs to more than just flesh and bone. Old Crooked Fang lets out a final frustrated snarl and backs away from the canyon's edge. He's beaten again, not by claw or fang this time, but by sound. By the invisible threads of the owl's domain that weave through stone and air alike, and as he disappears into the night, the echoes follow, softening, fading, until only the wind remains. You stand alone at the canyon's rim, the stars bright above, and you wonder how many other hunters learned the hard way that this was not their hour. That the canyon, the night, and the voice that fills it belong to the owls alone. You move carefully from the canyon's lip, the stones loose beneath your feet, each shift sending tiny cascades of gravel tumbling into the depths. The stars are bright now, scattered like frost across the black sky, but their cold light offers no comfort. Somewhere behind you, Old Crooked Fang melts into the night, his figure swallowed by the trees. And above, always above, the owls still watch. A rustle overhead draws your gaze. You spot the silhouette, first wings wide against the stars, gliding low and silent. The owl's path is deliberate, its flight slow and steady, as if it knows there's no need to hurry. After all, it owns this hour. And as it passes, you catch the gleam of its eyes, bright, calculating, unblinking. The kind of stare that sees everything, that misses nothing. You realize then what makes the owls so powerful at dusk. It's their eyes. Their night vision is so sharp, so precise, that they may as well be hunting in daylight while the rest of the world stumbles blind. Historians still debate whether saber-toothed cats had any hope of competing with owls in this light. Fossil studies suggest the cat's eyes adapted for low light, but not like this. Not like the owls. The cats may have ruled the sunlit plains, but as soon as the last light faded, they were second best. Here's an odd little tidbit to chew on. Some prehistoric owls had eyes so large relative to their skulls that their brains were squished into weird shapes just to make room. Basically, they were built like living night vision goggles. No wonder they owned the dusk. Old Crooked Fang knows it too. You spot him through the trees, crouched low, ears flat, trying to shrink into the undergrowth. He glances upward again and again, watching the sky, waiting for the next silent shape to sweep past. But the owl has the advantage. It sees him clear as day. Every twitch, every breath, every flick of his tail. The cat's frustration shows. He tenses, ready to spring, but at what? The owl is too high, too fast. The cat's strength is useless against air and distance. He snarls low in his throat, and the sound feels small, swallowed by the night. The owl responds not with sound, but with another slow pass, its shadow gliding over the cat's hunched form, like a warning. Historians still debate whether early humans learned about the dangers of dusk by watching these nightly showdowns, whether our ancestors looked to the owl as a teacher, a guardian of the night. You can almost see it, can't you? A huddle of people at a fire's edge, pointing at the silent hunter in the sky, whispering of its wisdom and power. The owl shifts direction, banking toward a gap in the trees. For a moment, its wings catch the starlight and the pale feathers glow like silver. You feel the pull of its gaze even from here, as if the bird weighs you with the same cool calculation it gives the cat. You don't move, don't dare. You're no threat, and you hope the owl sees that. Odd fact, some ancient people believed that an owl's gaze alone could bring sickness or misfortune, and standing here under that stare, you start to see how the idea took root. There's something unsettling about being seen so clearly in the dark, about knowing your secrets aren't safe from those golden eyes. Old Crooked Fang retreats further. his body low to the ground, muscles coiled, but with nowhere to strike. His world is one of claws and strength, but tonight strength means nothing. The owl owns the air, owns the dark, owns him. And as the bird vanishes into the trees once more, the cat gives up the last of his defiance. He turns, slipping deeper into the woods, seeking shadows thick enough to hide from those eyes. You stand alone again, listening as the night closes in, as the owl's dominion stretches unchallenged from sky to stone. The stars above blink cold and distant, and you realize that for all the cat's might, it's the owl that rules this kingdom. The owl that sees, that waits, that wins. You move deeper into the woods, following faint signs of old Crooked Fang's path. A broken twig here, a patch of flattened grass there, the ghost of a paw print in soft earth. The trees crowd closer, now their trunks like ancient pillars, their canopy blotting out most of the starlight. You can't see far ahead, but you can hear the soft tread of the cat, the rustle of leaves, and above it all, the steady, measured hoots of the owls. They're not done. Not yet. Old Crooked Fang is trying again. You can feel it in the way he moves and the tension of his body. Hunger drives him as much as fear holds him back. You spot him as he crouches low in the undergrowth, his gaze locked on a herd of small prehistoric deer grazing at the forest's edge. Their flanks twitch nervously, ears flicking at every sound. The cat inches forward, a slow practice stalk. His paws are silent on the leaf litter. His body a coiled spring of muscle and intent. This is what he was made for. And then just as he's ready to pounce, hoot. A single perfect note. It cuts through the quiet like a blade sharp enough to split the night. The deer freeze, heads high, nostrils flaring. The cat hesitates, caught between the surge of instinct and the dread that hoot brings. Another hoot follows, and the deer scatter, vanishing into the trees like smoke. The cat springs anyway. A desperate lunge, claws outstretched, but there's nothing to catch. The hunt is ruined. Historians still debate whether owls actively sabotaged other predators' hunts, or whether their cries simply served their own purposes and incidentally caused chaos below. Watching this, you can see how the cats might not care about the distinction. Ruined is ruined, whether by accident or design. Here's a strange fact for you. Some ancient owl species had calls that could mimic other animals. Imagine a world where the hoot wasn't just a hoot, but could sound like a predator, a rival, even a mate. Nature's ultimate ventriloquist, stirring up confusion from the treetops. Old Crooked Fang lands hard where the deer had been, his claws scraping bark, his breath coming fast and ragged. He stands still, a moment, shoulders is heaving, his head low. The failure stings. You can see it in every line of his body. A wasted burst of energy, a meal lost. And above the owl calls again, its voice now almost mocking, as if it knows the part it played in the cat's misfortune. Historians still debate whether scenes like this contributed to the owl's reputation as a trickster or a harbinger, but you can see how the stories might have grown. When every failed hunt feels like the owl's doing, how long before the owl becomes something more in the mind's eye, an agent of fate, of doom? The cat paces, frustrated, his tail lashing the air. But the deer are gone, and the night is no friend to him now. Every sound betrays him. Every shadow hides a watcher. The owl hoots again, and the cat flinches just slightly, just enough to tell you how deeply that fear runs. You stay very still, not wanting to draw the owl's gaze yourself. After all, you've seen what happens to those who forget who rules the dusk. Odd fact fossil. Pollen studies suggest that some prehistoric forests echo differently at night due to denser plant cover, amplifying certain sounds like owl hoots while muffling others. So the owls didn't just have the dark on their side. They had the very landscape tuned to their advantage. Old Crooked Fang lets out a low, frustrated growl, then melts into the shadows, defeated for now. The owl's calls soften, fading into the distance as if satisfied with the night's work. And you're left standing in the quiet, the echoes of the ruined ambush still ringing in your ears, a reminder that strength alone is never enough when the night belongs to wings and silence. You move cautiously. Now senses sharp, every step deliberate. The forest thins ahead, giving way to a clearing where the faint flicker of firelight glows against the dark. You smell the smoke before you see the flames, a clean, woody scent that wraps around the night like a protective charm. Humans. Early humans. A small band huddled close to the fire's edge, their faces gaunt but alert, their eyes reflecting the glow. You ease closer, drawn by the strange alliance unfolding between these people and the owls overhead. The fire crackles, sending sparks up into the night. And above, perched on the twisted branches of a dead tree, the owls watch. Not hooting now, not stirring, just watching. Their forms are dark against the stars, their eyes catching the firelight twin embers in the blacks. The humans seem at ease with them, unafraid. You realize that the owls here are more than hunters of mice or messengers of fear. They're sentries, protectors, allies against the dark. Historians still debate whether early humans deliberately encouraged owls to stay near their camps, or whether the owls simply followed the easy hunting of insects drawn to the firelight. But tonight the relationship feels intentional. The people cast scraps into the shadows beyond the fire, and you spot small movements, rodents, perhaps bold enough to creep close in hopes of a meal. The owls see them too. One drops silently from its perch, wings spread wide, talons flashing. The catch is swift, sure, and as the owl rises with its prize, a quiet cheer rises from the humans. The fire flickers brighter as if applauding the shared victory. Here's a curious little fact. Some ancient cave sites contain owl bones alongside hearth remains, as if the birds were part of the community, not just neighbors. Maybe trophies, maybe companions, maybe something in between. The lines blur in the dark, don't they? Old Crooked Fang lingers at the clearing's edge, hidden by the trees, drawn by hunger, held back by caution. He watches the humans, the fire, the owls. His nose twitches, catching the scent of cooked meat, but he doesn't dare approach. The firelight flickers across his fur, casting strange patterns that make him seem both larger and smaller than he is. The owls see him. You can feel it. Their heads turn in perfect unison, eyes fixed on the intruder. No sound, no cry, just that piercing, unblinking stare that has turned back predators since the dawn of time. Historians still debate whether this dynamic shaped early myths of owls as camp guardians, whether the birds truly acted as protectors, or whether their presence simply coincided with safety. But to the humans by the fire, and to you watching it, feels like a pact. The fire holds the dark at bay, and the owls hold what the fire can't reach. The humans murmur softly, sharing words you can't understand, but whose meaning is clear. Gratitude, respect, perhaps even superstition. A child points at the nearest owl wide-eyed, and you catch the flicker of a smile from an elder who gently hushes the little one. The owl shifts, preens a wing, then settles back to its vigil. Odd fact for the night, in some early cultures owl calls were believed to mark the boundaries of safe ground. As long as the hoots came from beyond the fire's light, all was well. If the call fell silent, danger lurked close. Old Crooked Fang withdraws his hunger, no match for the combined power of flame and feather. He disappears into the forest, his form swallowed by the trees, leaving the clearing to its uneasy harmony. The owls resume their silent watch. The fire crackles on, and you remain in the shadows, marveling at this ancient alliance. A fragile peace forged on the edge of night, where the line between hunter and hunted blurs, and where the owl's rule is honored by all who value survival. The night stretches on, thick and endless, as you drift along the forest's edge, leaving behind the flickering glow of the human camp. The air feels colder here, the dark deeper somehow, as if the trees themselves lean in to listen. And that's when you notice something strange. Where are the owls? The sky once alive with the soft sweep of their wings feels empty. The hoots that seem to echo from every corner of the night have fallen silent. The kingdom of dusk has gone quiet, and you can't help but feel the wrongness of it in your bones. Old Crooked Fang feels it too. You spot him through a gap in the trees, moving cautiously, ears forward, eyes wide alert for danger. But the danger he expects isn't there. The owl's gaze is gone, defiant. The talons that claimed his kin are nowhere to be seen. The shadows feel thinner without those winged rulers, as if the night itself has lost its teeth. Historians still debate what caused certain ancient owl populations to suddenly vanish from regions they once dominated. Climate shifts, prey collapse disease, or perhaps, as the myths would have it, the owls chose to abandon the dusk, leaving it to other creatures to claim. Whatever the reason, tonight, you walk through a silence that feels like a held breath, as if the world is waiting for something to fill the void. Odd fact: some ancient legends speak of a time when owls fled the earth entirely, retreating to the stars, their eyes becoming the brightest points in the night sky. A comforting thought perhaps, but standing here in the dark, the absence feels more like a wound than a blessing. Without the owls, the balance has shifted. The small creatures of the night venture out boldly. You see the mice skittering across open ground, insects swarming low over pools of water. Even a young fox trotting along a game trail, unhurried, unworried. And Old Crooked Fang, freed from the ever-watchful gaze, he prowls with newfound confidence, his movements smoother, his pauses fewer. It's as if the dark belongs to him now, or at least no longer belongs to anyone else. Historians still debate whether this gap in owl presence altered predator-prey dynamics in meaningful ways. Some believe the absence gave rise to bolder hunting strategies among saber-toothed cats and other night stalkers. Others argue it left ecosystems vulnerable to imbalance as rodents and insects bred unchecked. Whatever the case, tonight you witness the shift firsthand, the uneasy freedom that comes when the enforcers of the night abandon their post. You glance upward, half expecting a winged form to reappear to remind the world who holds dominion here. But the sky remains empty save for the cold, uncaring stars. The silence grows heavy, not peaceful but hollow, as if the night itself mourns its missing monarchs. Oddly enough, in some prehistoric rock art, scenes of hunting and danger vanish during periods that align with known gaps in owl fossils. Almost as if without the owl there was no story worth telling. Or perhaps the stories simply felt incomplete, their central figure gone. Old Crooked Fang pauses at a stream's edge, drinking deeply, his reflection rippling in the silvered water. He lifts his head, water dripping from his muzzle, and for the first time tonight, he doesn't look over his shoulder, doesn't scan the sky. The fear is gone, and with it something else: caution, reverence, maybe even respect. You stand still, the chill of the night creeping deeper, and you wonder how long this strange quiet will last. How long before the balance tips too far? How long before the owls return, or something else rises to claim the dusk? You trail Old Crooked Fang along a narrow game path, the kind worn down by countless paws and hooves over ages. The night air hums with the quiet sounds of a world adjusting to change, the rustle of small animals emboldened by the absence of their winged overseers, the soft trickle of water somewhere deeper in the forest. But now and then the cat pauses. He lifts his head, ears, swiveling nose, testing the breeze. Because even without the owl's haunting cries, something of their rule still lingers. A memory, a lesson etched too deep to forget overnight. This is an uneasy truce, and you can feel it in every step the cat takes. The freedom from the owl's gaze is as much a curse as a blessing. The night is his, yes, but it is emptier, stranger, less certain. No great wings slice the sky above. No talons descend to keep the balance. And that balance, it kept more than just the cats in check. Historians still debate whether saber-toothed cats ever truly adapted to the absence of their aerial adversaries. Some argue they became bolder, expanding their ranges and hunting deeper into the dark. Others suggest the lack of owl interference led to new dangers. More injuries, more failed hunts, more silent predators, learning to fill the gap the owls left behind. Tonight, you witness a creature torn between old fear and new opportunity. Old Crooked Fang creeps toward a clearing where a small herd of prehistoric antelope grazes under the stars. His movements are smooth, confident, unhurried. No owl cries disrupt his focus. No shadows fall across the grass to spook his prey. He is the hunter he was always meant to be. But there's a stiffness in his stride, a hesitation that wasn't there before. The owl may be gone, but its ghost still stalks the edges of his mind. And here's a curious fact for you. In some regions, early human stories describe ghost owls, spirits, that remain to watch over the land even after the birds themselves vanished. These invisible watchers were said to guide or punish as needed, unseen, but always present. You can almost believe it tonight, seeing how Old Crooked Fang glances upward as he stalks, expecting judgment that never comes. The cat lowers himself into the grass, muscles coiled tail flicking in rhythm with his breath. The antelope graze unaware of the breeze, carrying no warning, no telltale hoot. The moment stretches perfect and deadly, and yet he hesitates. Just for a heartbeat, a flicker of old fear, a memory of talons and shadows. The pause is small but costly. The antelope's ears twitch. One lifts its head, another follows. In an instant, the herd bolts hooves, pounding the ground in a drumbeat of retreat. The hunt is lost. Historians still debate whether these failures came from the cat's residual caution or from the new challenges of a world without owl interference, prey that learned to fear different threats. Environments that shifted in unexpected ways. But watching Old Crooked Fang, now you see a predator caught between what was and what is, a creature haunted by the echoes of a vanished rival. Odd fact, some species of prehistoric owls may have migrated seasonally, leaving whole regions owl-free for parts of the year. If so, these cycles of presence and absence could have created a rhythm of fear and reprieve that shaped the behaviors of every animal sharing their realm. Old Crooked Fang stands in the clearing, watching the last of the antelope disappear into the night. His sides heave with the effort of the failed chase. He looks upward one last time as if expecting to see those wide wings spread against the stars, ready to mock or menace. But the sky is empty, silent, uncaring, and the cat caught in that silence turns away, padding back toward the shelter of the trees, leaving the clearing and the uneasy truce of the dusk behind. The night deepens heavy and still, and you find yourself wandering paths that feel older than memory. The trees here are twisted, their trunks scarred by ages of wind and fire. Their branches claw at the sky as if reaching for something long lost. And above, the stars burn cold, distant, unmoved by what happens below. You step carefully, listening to the quiet, but in that quiet another sound begins to creep in. Soft at first, a whisper, a breath of wind through dead leaves. But as you listen, you realize it's not the wind at all. It's the echo of legends. The ghost owl. They said the ghost owl came when the living owls were gone, a spirit left behind to haunt the dusk. Its cry could not be heard by the ears of men or beast, only felt like a chill down the spine, like a weight on the chest. You feel it now, that eerie sense of being watched, even though no sound breaks the night. The air is too still, the dark too complete. The ghost owl's realm. Historians still debate whether these stories were born from nights like this when the owls were absent and the world felt unbalanced, or whether they sprang from older fears, older truths. But as you walk beneath the ancient trees, it doesn't really matter. The feeling is real, the dread is real, And you are not alone. Old Crooked Fang feels it too. You spot him again pacing at the edge of a glade, his ears flicking nervously, his eyes wide, reflecting starlight like polished stone. There is no sound, no cry, no flash of wings, but the cat's hackles rise all the same. He snarls low teeth, bared at the empty air as if to warn off something unseen. The ghost owl doesn't answer. It never does. Its power lies in its silence and the way it makes the night feel hollow and endless. Here's an odd fact to consider: in some ancient burial sites, figures of owls with no eyes carved into their faces have been found. Blind owls, ghost owls. It's as if even in death the people feared the gaze that could see too much, or the gaze that saw nothing and judged all the same. The trees creak in the breeze, their bare branches clacking like brittle bones. The sound is enough to make you glance over your shoulder, certain you'll see wide wings spread in the dark. But there's nothing. The ghost owl is felt, not seen. Its presence is in the weight of the night and the pause before a breath and the shiver you can't quite shake. Historians still debate whether the ghost owl was meant to represent the owl's memory or its spirit, but to creatures like Old Crooked Fang, the difference is meaningless. The fear is the same. He moves restlessly, circling the glade, searching for a threat that refuses to take shape. His strength is useless here. There's nothing to fight, nothing to chase, nothing to outrun. You stand very still, heart beating loud in your ears, waiting for the night to break for the spell to lift. But it doesn't. The ghost owl owns this hour, this place. The stars seem farther away now, the dark thicker, the air colder. Odd fact: in some parts of the world today, owl-shaped masks with hollow eyes are still worn in ceremonies meant to ward off evil. A ritual memory of a time when the line between living bird and ghost was too thin to see. Old Crooked Fang finally gives up his vigil, slipping away into the deeper forest, leaving the glade to the ghost owl's silent rule. And you remain a moment longer, feeling the weight of the unseen wings above the hush of ancient watchers. When you move at last, it is slow, careful, as if any sudden noise might summon what lingers just out of sight. The hours drag towards dawn, but the night clings tight, as if unwilling to let go. The forest feels heavier now, each shadow stretched long and sharp, every breeze carrying secrets. You move through the dark like a ghost yourself, keeping to the edges, watching as Old Crooked Fang makes his way to a rocky rise overlooking the valley. His steps are slow, his body thinner than before, worn by hunger, by fear, by endless nights spent looking over his shoulder. The last saber-tooth of his kind in this place, facing Dusk's ancient dread one final time. He pauses at the ridge's edge, the stars casting pale light over his scarred flanks and hollow sides. The valley below is quiet, the world holding its breath as night nears its end. But the silence is deceptive. A shape breaks from the tree line, a great owl, wings wide, gliding low over the grass. Its feathers catch the starlight silver against black, its eyes like molten gold. The owl of the dusk returned at last. Old Crooked Fang stiffens, tail low, head high, gaze fixed on the approaching form. There's no room left for retreat. This is the hour of reckoning, the last meeting of tooth and talon beneath the ancient sky. Historians still debate whether owls like this one truly drove saber-toothed cats to change their habits or territories, or whether the fear was more myth than reality. But in this moment, the myth feels real enough. Odd fact: some ancient fossils suggest that owl bones and saber-toothed cat remains have been found side by side, as if the two had fallen together, predator and predator locked in some final embrace. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe their fates were always entwined, bound by the dusk they shared. The owl circles once, twice its shadow, sweeping the ground like a scythe. Old Crooked Fang lets out a low growl, his last defiance. The sound rolls through the valley, swallowed quickly by the dark. The owl does not answer. It only watches, wings steady, silent as ever. The cat steps forward, meeting the gaze of his ancient rival. For a moment, the world holds still, two kings at the edge of the night, neither willing to bow. And then the owl rises higher, banking toward the trees, its silhouette shrinking against the brightening sky. The first faint blush of dawn touches the horizon, and with it, the owl yields the hour. The cat stands alone on the ridge, breathing hard, watching as the night's ruler fades into the coming light. The fear, the weight, the endless tension of dusk lifted for now. Historians still debate whether these final encounters shaped the way early humans told the story of the saber-toothed cat's end. Was it nature's course, or did the night itself with its winged sentries write the last chapter? Tonight you've seen how the story might have been told through silence, through shadow, through the quiet surrender of one age to the next. You remain a moment longer watching the owl disappear into the trees, watching the cat turn from the ridge and slip into the shelter of the woods. The last saber-tooth's dusk has passed, and the night for now belongs to the wings that haunt its edge. You linger at the ridge long after old Crooked Fang has vanished, watching as dawn stretches pale fingers across the valley, softening the dark, pushing back the night. But before the sun truly rises, there's one last breath of dusk, the edge of night where the owls reign, where the world holds its secrets close, where shadows still cling to the bones of the earth. And you see them then, the owls of the dawn's edge, gliding silently over the land they ruled, while the world slept. The air is cool, damp with the promise of morning, but the owls move as if time hasn't touched them. Their wings slice the air without sound, their eyes scanning the ground below for any last movement, any final sign of prey before they yield to the light. You feel their gaze pass over you, impersonal, ancient, as if measuring your place in this brief meeting of worlds. Historians still debate whether the owl's dominion at dusk and dawn was a product of evolution's perfect design or simply the absence of other rulers in those strange, shifting hours. But as you stand there, the answer feels obvious. The owls reign because dusk and dawn are made for them, the in-between times, the hours of mystery, of shadow, of silent power. Here's something to wonder about. Some ancient cultures believe the owl's wings stirred the wind itself, that their flight carried away the night's last breath and brought the dawn. Standing here, watching the last of the owls vanish into the brightening sky, it's easy to see how that idea was born. The valley below wakes slowly. The small creatures of the night scurry to their burrows. The first birds of day call out tentative notes. And the owls, those silent monarchs, fade into the trees, into the cliffs, into legend. The saber-toothed kings are gone, their age ended. But the owls endure. They inherit the dusk, the dawn, the spaces between their reign unchallenged, where night meets day. You take a long breath, feeling the weight of what you've witnessed settle around you like the morning mist. The owls rule not through force, but through presence, through the promise of what might come with every beat of their wings, every glint of their eyes, every silent pass over the land. And as the first true light of day spills over the ridge, you know their reign will continue as long as there is night, as long as there is fear, as long as creatures tremble at the edge of the dark. And now the valley is quiet, the sky soft with dawn, and you turn at last from the ridge, leaving behind the realm of wings and whispers, stepping into the light, but knowing you'll never hear an owl's call the same way again. The story of Why Did Saber-Toothed Cats Fear Owls at Dusk takes you on a journey through the ancient world where the rulers of the plains, the powerful saber-toothed cats, find themselves humbled by the silent watchers of the night. From the first haunting hoots that send tremors through even the fiercest predators to the final moments when the last saber-tooth meets the gaze of its winged rival. You walk the edge of dusk and dawn, witnessing how strength alone fails against the quiet power of the owl. Each section reveals a piece of the delicate balance between predator and predator watcher, weaving in historical debates, odd facts, and ancient myths that shaped the way early creatures and humans understood the world around them. From the eerie echoes in canyons that confused hunts to the strange alliances between humans and owls, to the ghost owl legends that lingered after the birds themselves vanished, the tale builds toward the final quiet surrender of the saber-toothed cat's age. In the end, as dawn breaks and the last owls retreat, you are left with a sense of awe at how these winged sentries inherited the dusk masters of the in-between of shadow and silence. Their reign endures in every whisper of wind, every glint of golden eyes at the forest's edge where the night still belongs to them.